And please put your hands together for the cast and producers of Legends, Tina Majorino, Morris Chestnut, Ali Larder, and executive producers Howard Gordon and David Wilcox. So let's just dive right in here, Morris. So we all just saw the pilot for Legends.
Right.
We didn't see too much of you in that pilot, though. I think
I was deep cover as another character.
Can you talk a bit about where your character fits in going forward?
Going forward, my character comes in the second episode. The situation that happened on the subway. Sean Bean's character comes to my office. I work in transportation security. He comes to my office to ask me questions about that. Once he leaves my office, I do some investigating, and I find out that he was hiding something from me because he was actually on the scene. And I start questioning and following him and asking him questions as to what he was hiding.
So fair to say you're kind of antagonistic with Martin.
Very much so.
Are you trying to kill Sean Bean?
Well, he's not here, is he? Is he here right now? Maybe I did.
Now, Ali, we got to see a little bit of Crystal and Martin's relationship in the episode. It seems pretty complicated, it's fair to say. How does that kind of develop as the show sort of goes forward?
Well, I mean, one of the things about playing Crystal that I love is that she's a very strong woman, but she also embraces her femininity and her emotional side. And one of the things that she believes in is following the rules. She thinks that if you follow the rules, there's less chance of mistakes. And then you see someone like Martin, who's all about instinct, who's all about doing whatever it takes to get the job done, which equals lots of messes. So I need to come in and clean up his mess a lot of the time, and it kind of creates this conflict between us. On top of that, there's also this incredible respect I have for him. So that kind of creates an interesting dynamic.
It seems like it, yeah. And now, Tina, it sort of seems as if you're playing a more rookie member of the Force. So this being a spy drama, it's fair to say that the rookie will probably go through horrifying things over the course of the first season. Can you talk a little bit about Maggie in the first season, where she kind of fits in?
Well, I think that her role in it, you have to think about the environment. The environment of the DCO is a very elite unit in the FBI, so they're not going to really hire, like a rookie, they're not really going to hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
She's fresh out of grade school. She's
No, but I think that, you know, to be a part of that unit, you have to have a lot of training, and you have to have I look at it as, it's not a career choice for these people, it's a calling, and it's, you have to be a special kind of person to be willing to sacrifice having any sort of life outside of that job. There's not a lot of room for mistakes because people's lives are
high tension. High tension, it's fair to say.
So I'm happy to say that, I'm happy to say that Maggie doesn't go through too much of a learning curve. Mm-hmm. There's not really a lot of room for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, executive producer Howard Gordon, this is not your first rodeo in the genre of mystery, espionage, government work. We're talking about Homeland, 24, X-Files. Yeah, come on, let's hear it. Legends. Can you just talk a bit about what kind of attracted you to this particular take on the genre, and how it kind of fits in next to the other work that you've done in this sort of world before?
I think Tina hit it. The thing that has always appealed to me and related to me is what does it take to do the work we do? And for me, as a television writer, my wife is here and can attest to the fact that you become, and Dave can too, you become a TV widow married to, we're kind of freaks in this job. Why do we do what we do? Because we love telling stories. And I think Martin Odom and Jack Bauer and Carrie Matheson, for that matter, and Fox Mulder, there you go. He's still kicking. I know. But all these people are trying to sort of define who they are and answer the question of, and find a context for what they do. And so in this particular case, it sort of ups the ante when you ask the question, who am I? And And I was really attracted to the idea of a guy who has this occupational hazard. His gift is that he kind of has this willful multiple personality disorder. That's his gift, but it's also this terrible curse and burden he bears, and the price that he pays as a person, and the collateral damage his family pays, is good drama.
Well, and of course, in that first episode, it already seemed as if he was in a pretty precarious place mentally, and then towards the end, it seems like he might be even more precarious. David, I'd be intrigued to know, what's his kind of mental state going to be as the season advances, and as he kind of gets deeper and deeper into what seems like several different webs of espionage?
Well, he starts in this place where this question is raised, and it begins really calling into question kind of everything that he knows and everything that he sort of has taken for granted, who his wife is, who his son is, and the biggest question, obviously, who he is. And as he kind of digs into this mystery, and those answers are not what he expected. And so he goes pretty deep into this mystery, and it's a fairly surprising answer at the end.
Well, and I'd be intrigued to know, this is based, of course, on a novel. Did any of you kind of do any research into the kind of lives of these people? I mean, it certainly seems like the real world nature of this is something that really comes into play quite a bit. I guess that's a question for the whole panel.
Well, I mean, I've played FBI agents before, and
FBI agents do research into you now.
No, so I've been pretty familiar with procedures and everything that was involved.
I was not familiar at all. So I'm just a big fan of research in general, so I will deep dive into anything that intrigues me, and obviously this character, her world is so far out of my own wheelhouse. I actually trained and took the FBI PT test because I wanted to know what they went through, and it's not easy. It's not fun, but I wanted to know what that you actually have to be able to do, and that mindset and the physicality and all of that. That really helped me connect with what it means to live in this world.
How did you do on the test?
I passed. Thank you.
I was able to work and do some gun training with an agent, and his partner was a woman, and I didn't get to meet her, but I asked him a lot of questions about her, and how a lot of times when I'll hold different guns, my hands aren't big enough, and I asked if she would use a different kind of gun, and he was like, absolutely not. She did it just the way that the guys did it, and usually better. So that was really interesting to hear, and also that she didn't have a family, and that was something that I related to with Crystal. That Crystal has chosen not to be a mother, that she's not married any longer, and so that's something that she's willing to put her life on the line, and in the darkness of the night, that's something that she has to deal with, and she doesn't have to deal with a family that would have to deal with those consequences. So that was something interesting that I've thought a lot about this season and this character.
Howard and David, did you do any kind of research into the lives of these people who are going deep cover for so many months and years?
Well, not a lot, but I have known a number of people who have worked undercover, and this is what was interesting too is that there's an overlap between people who do that and give up their characters and actors. Actors occupy these roles, and we thought that was really going to be kind of emotionally the most resonant part for our cast, hopefully.
Shedding.
Rather than the technicality of it, is really what's the emotional price of you pay for doing the work you do.
And that was really our approach, I think, is coming at this as much from a psychological character perspective, more so even than I think specifically a cop perspective, because it's when they're undercover, they're not acting like cops. They're living in that world, and I think that's the fun of the show as well, is diving into these different worlds, that these criminal underworlds, and having to sell themselves as legitimate people who belong there. And so certainly I think we've written police shows, everything. This is as much as it is an FBI show. It really is kind of it's much more driven by these characters than the cases that they work, and really I think a psychological thriller at its heart.
So now, since he's not here, how many accents are you going to force Sean Bean to do over the course of the season? I think we're already at 2 in that first episode.
I'm sorry, how many accents? Glenn Barlow,
yes, he really, I think the trick of doing a show like this is not to take it into kind of kitschy territory, and so we made a conscious decision at the beginning to really try to keep his undercover, his legends, kind of in the in the English, like British English, American English. He does sort of in one episode he goes to Houston, and so there's a little bit of a Texas that comes through. But this is not a show that when he goes into these legends, he's putting on a fake mustache or wearing a hump on his back so he really fully inhabits it, and that was something that we talked a lot about and really wanted there to be a feeling of reality to what he was doing.
So no humps, we can confirm.
That's correct.
I do want to save some time for some audience questions. I think we have some mics out there. Where do we have them? Yes, you, ma'am.
Hi. So my question is, I had an acting professor in college who said that as an actor you should always sort of have a sense of the big picture and the end game, so you know where you are in the story. But when you're working on something that's episodic like this with a lot of questions, as an actor, do you prefer to know sort of where you're going, or do you prefer to make those discoveries at the same time as the character?
Did you guys know where you were going?
We were told we were going to know where we were going. And then it changed. I think that one of the interesting things about this season is that because it was so on the line, David joined us about 5 weeks before we started filming, and that put him in overdrive, and it was truly incredible how he was able to weave this mythology together and take current events that are in the news and bring them into each episode. And as actors, at least for me, it forced me to just really roll on my instincts, and I definitely prefer to plan things. I like to be able to find little nuances and ways to kind of bring it all together, but that wasn't an option. We had to just, really follow instincts, roll with it, and, find ways to kind of connect. And I think that actually brings a real freshness to this season, and hopefully next season we'll have a nice stack of 9 scripts.
I'm still not going to tell you where the season goes, though. That was something that we talked about, which was we don't want you to play the ending, and having that sort of sense of surprise of how the season would unfold. I think was fun, and I think it as Ali said, is it did make it feel kind of fresh when they would go into these episodes and they go, oh, that's why, or that's what's happening. And I mean, look, to their credit, they put an enormous amount of faith in us and as writers, and thank you. And it's I like to think it came together, and so yeah, you have to wait and see.
Next question, you, sir, the 7th Doctor? 5th Doctor.
Thank you. First off to the cast, I've seen your careers over the last several years, and wonderful cast. Great job putting them together. But my question's for Ali. This is at least the 2nd series now that you've had where we see you in lingerie in the first episode. Is this now a part of your contracts, and to whom do we send the thank you cards?
Be thankful that they're still asking for it. So.
And wait till you see the finale. Stay tuned.
I couldn't believe when I read it, and I went, oh my gosh, am I doing this again?
Yes, that's the answer.
And then I thought, there's something about this show is it's really edgy, it's dark, and it is like this intellectual character drama, but it's also fun. you know, and there's something to be said for having some fun while you're shooting it, and that was just a fun scene, and I was like, you know what, let's go for it.
All right, that unfortunately wraps it up for today, but please put your hands together again for the cast and producers of Legends. Legends premieres on TNT Wednesday, August 13th at 9 p.m. on TNT. #Don'tKillSean B.